Welcome to this next tutorial video for the DeskProto CAM software. My name is Lex, and in this video I want to talk to you about postprocessors. First step, to explain what a postprocessor is, or in fact what it does. Second step is to show you how you can fine-tune a postprocessor in DeskProto. And the third step is the more advanced stuff, how you can fine-tune the postprocessor in DeskProto using a feature called placeholders. So first step, what is a postprocessor? I want to explain that to you by opening DeskProto, creating a very simple C program file and opening that in a text editor. Well, let me start DeskProto to create this simple C file. And I want to use the free edition. Here we are, because configuring a postprocessor can be done in any of the editions. I want to use the samples folder, and I want to use the wizard to quickly create a project. Let me check the machine to be used. It's now ISO plain G codes, which is important as the machine that is selected determines which postprocessor will be used. Okay, I want to use Wizard Basic Vector Machining. Next, I want to browse one of the sample files, this 2D square. Here we are, a simple square of 100 by 100 millimeters. I want to leave the parameters as they are. Depth is -1, so we are going to create a groove of 1 millimeter deep. Dimension of the material block. In other editions there will be more parameters. Here the free edition has a subset, but it has all we need. I want to make the block a bit larger, 200 by 150 by 20 millimeters. Here we are. Next, the toolpath, I want it exactly on curve, so we are going to create a groove of 1 millimeter deep of 100 by 100 millimeters. And the final step is writing the C program file. I'll simply call it test, and this postprocessor will call it test.iso, save, finish, and here we can see an C file has been saved. I want to open it in the file location. Here we are, test.iso, and I want to show that in a simple text editor. Here's a simple text editor. Here, yes, here is the G code file. So yes, I want to move that a bit, and now we can see what happens. A very brief G code explanation. G00 is a rapid movement to the first point. G01 are standard machining movements, and this first point is 50 mm at location X50, Y25, Z5, and that is relative to the workpiece 0 point. Here the blue cube is workpiece 0 point, and when we go 50 millimeters to the right, 25 and 5 up, we are at the downward arrow, and the downward arrow indicates the start of the toolpath. So from there we go down to -1, we go to the right to X50, 150, sorry, in G code. Every coordinate that is not present on the line simply keeps the same value as it was before. So from here to Y125, back to X50, back to the starting point, and go up 6 millimeter, where the upward arrow indicates the end point, and M30 indicates the end of the program, the C program. So that's it for G code. Now let's see what happens when we select different machine, and so a different postprocessor. We now have ISO plain G codes. I go to Roland. Oh, that's too quick. Roland MDX 540. Here it is. Okay. It gives me a warning that the speed values will be reset, which is needed as this new machine will have different capabilities in speed, and it may even use different units for the feed rate. So those have been reset. and I again write an NC program file. I again call it test, but now it's called test.prn, as apparently Roland wants PRN files to be sent to its machine. I again go to the file location. Here we are, test.prn. Again, open the text editor, this one in the text editor. Okay, make it a bit wider, then we can show both at the same time, and as you can see they look completely different, and this is what the postprocessor does. It determines what the file should look like, but basically the same information is present in both files. A series of commands that tell the machine to go to a certain coordinate value, and here the coordinate values are in millimeters, and here you see 150 millimeters becomes 15,000 units here. So apparently the units here are hundredths of millimeters. The reason will be that this machine cannot handle decimal points, so it needs integer values. But well, basically this is what a postprocessor does. These are two different kinds, and many more NC formats are available. So the postprocessor sets the format of the NC file to be written. So in other words, it translates the toolpath to exactly the language, the format that your CNC milling machine needs. And the two that you've seen are just two examples. Many more formats, many more languages exist. Well, in fact, the G code that you just saw is the most widely used format. However, unfortunately, many dialects, many small variations of G code exist. So in many cases you will need to edit your postprocessor to fine-tune your postprocessor to exactly meet the needs of your machine. Well, luckily in DeskProto that's an easy process, editing a postprocessor, so I'll go back to the software to show you how that can be done. Okay, back to DeskProto. Let me make this one small. And well, first of all, I want to show you how you can see which postprocessor is used for a specific machine. That is a setting in the machine definition, and all machine definitions are in the library of machines. This gives a warning. You cannot select which machine is used for your project here. You can only change machine definitions, which is okay. The Roland machine still was selected, but okay, for now that's no problem. When I edit this machine definition, you can see that one of the settings is which postprocessor is used, and you can also select from a very long list of postprocessors. Okay, cancel. So you have seen how you can see which postprocessor is used. Let me first change the selected machine back to ISO plain G codes, the millimeter version, yes, okay, resetting the speeds is okay, and now I can go to the library of postprocessors, because of obviously here you can change the postprocessor definitions. Well, again the same warning. The postprocessor for the currently selected machine already has been selected here, so I can simply say edit, and then this range of tab pages gives you all the options that you need to define a postprocessor. So a file extension, maximum size, do not touch these, that will be very inconvenient result. But anyway, I won't explain all settings. As always, DeskProto dialog has a help button, and the help page explains all settings of that particular tab page in detail. For now I want to make two small changes in the start commands. These are the commands written at the start of each file. I want to add a command line. Say that your machine accepts any lines written between brackets as commands, as many machines do. So I make a command and see while written by DeskProto. So between brackets, movement, rapid, feed rate, and the spindle speed. What I want to do is, currently the spindle speed command is at the end of the first movement line. Some machines won't accept that, or some machines want to have it at a separate line, and some machines also want an extra parameter M03 for start spindle added to that line. So that's a change I want to make on spindle. I placed on a separate line, and at the end of the line here you can see the example what it will look like. At the end of the line I add space M03. You can see in the edit box when it's not edited, a space has been shown as a middle dot to make it more clear. So here also is a space. I want to remove that, and here's the result as value M03. That's okay. That's okay. And now I simply again write the NC program file. I can call it test that already existed. Yes, I want to overwrite it. And when I now again open my editor, it says, hey, another application has updated this file. Reload, and we see the command line has been added, and the spindle command now is on a separate line, and M03 has been added. So that's the way you can easily fine-tune the postprocessor for your needs. One more remark. When you want to create a new postprocessor, the best way to do that is to first find a similar postprocessor and copy that one, and then edit the copy. That is much easier than starting from scratch with a new postprocessor. Okay, further, issue number 3. Well, many clients like to have more information at the start of their NC file, information that is displayed next to the machine when the file is actually started on the machine. Information like which cutter to use, or the block size, or the date that the file has been created. So since the latest release of DeskProto, which is version 7.1, this is possible in DeskProto using a new feature called the postprocessor placeholder. And in order to show you how that works, how you can use that, I'll go back to the software. Back in DeskProto, and again edit the postprocessor, this time to show the placeholder feature. Same warning, edit. I again want to add a start command, and this time what I want to add is a command line mentioning the name of the cutter. So cutter to be used. This can be an instruction for the guy at the machine, or when you are at the machine, perhaps you have forgotten, so you want to add the name of the cutter here, and that can be done using a placeholder. And to find out more, I go to the help page. Here it is, the help page. I scroll down. I find the placeholders. Here's an explanation about placeholders, and I go to the list of placeholders, and here we are, the tool name. That's the name of the cutter. So this is in fact a placeholder. I copy that and I paste it here, and closing bracket. So this is a placeholder, and the value will be determined when you are running DeskProto. So it is a placeholder for the actual value. It will be replaced, and when you say show example, you can see cutter to be used, and the cutter is flat tip, radius 3, diameter 6 millimeters. So that's it. You can also here clearly see these middle dots to show that a space is present, but in the actual NC program they won't be present. So I want to add one more placeholder, date, current date, date, again to the help file. That is very simple, that placeholder. It is date, Control V and closing bracket, and it's a date. Okay, I say okay and close, and again I write the NC program file, same names to be overwritten, yes, overwritten, and I go back to my text editor, yes, replace, and here we are, cutter to be used, and this is where the placeholder was, date, this is where the placeholder was. So that is how you can fine-tune your program using placeholders, which is quite a strong feature. Next question is what to do when you have more than one operation, because this cutter, when you have more than one operation using different cutters, this postprocessor command only is present at the start of the file. Well, in order to show that, I cannot use this free edition, because in the free edition you can only use one operation. So I have to save this file. I can call it test, why not? Okay, and I close DeskProto to start it again. Immediately restart DeskProto, and now I'm gonna select the expert edition to be used. Here it is. As we have a dealer license, we can freely select any edition at startup. When you have a paid license, this complete edition select screen won't be present. In the recent file list, I can open the project that we just saved, and now in this edition I can add a vector operation. So now I have two vector operations, and I want to make sure that different cutters are present. So for the contour I want to use a bullnose cutter. Here we are, and I want to call it profiling this operation. Yes, and the second operation, which has the flat tip, here I want to use pocketing, and then I want to call it pocketing. Yes, let me see what happens here. Two operations. It's not a very interesting design, however it will be okay for this example. And the next step now is to remove this command line about a cutter from the postprocessor. Library of postprocessors, edit, start, end. Here it is. Control X for cut. Okay, close, and now we go to the operation. And the nice thing is that on the advanced tab here we also have a start end option, a feature that we can add lines to be used at the start here, at the end of this operation. So at the start of this operation I will add one user defined line, and I paste this cutter line command. So that's okay, and then I do the same for the pocketing operation, advanced, start, end, add one user defined line, and that is this one. And now this command line about which cutter to be used is in the start commands of each operation. And before I save the NC file, I need to change one more thing, because normally when a next cutter is found, a new NC file is generated. Only when the machine has an automatic tool changer, the one combined NC file is created. So I want to make a trick and go back to the postprocessor, and now I will say, hey, this machine has an automatic tool change. I'll use a very simple command. So use cutter with this number and load that. That's sufficient. And what I also need to do is in the machine definition, I'll tell that the machine has a tool changer of sufficient positions. So say we can load 10 different cutters. Okay, and now I can again save the NC file. I'll give it the same name. Will I replace it? Yes, I want to replace it. It has been written. I go back to my text editor. It has been updated. Yes, want to load a new file, and now we can see the NC file to be written. Here the cutter to be used is the bullnose, and here the second operation has been added, cutter to be used, flat tip. And where is the, oh, here's the tool command. Yes, so here it loads tool number 6. After that it starts a spindle motor, and here are the lines at the start of the operation. Okay, so that is about placeholders. A lot more can be said about that, but please read the help file for information about all other placeholders that are present. Oh no, there's one more placeholder that I want to tell you about. That is the program number placeholder. Some CNC machines require that every NC program has a unique program number shown on the first line of the NC program file. So let me show you how that works. I go back to the postprocessor. Again, edit postprocessor. I go to the start commands, and I don't need a percentage sign there. I need a capital O, and then this placeholder prog number, here it is. I already had selected that. I can edit over there. Okay, so the first line of the NC file is new to capital O with prog number. So let's see what happens now. Okay, and what I now say, again, say write NC program file, same name, test. It already exists, yes. And now as you see, this dialog will pop up asking you to enter a new program number, new file number. Apparently the last time that I popped up this dialog, it said 40. It increases with 1 each time, and now it says 41. The number of positions is how many digits should be used, as well explained in the help file for this particular dialog. So I say OK, 41, and when I now again open show the NC file, we'll see that the percentage sign here has been displayed by O number 41. So that's a great feature in case you have a machine that needs a program number on the first line of the NC file. Well, I hope that in this video I've made it clear what a postprocessor is and how you can use it to get exactly the NC files that you need. Enjoy using DeskProto.